Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our webinar this evening. We are super delighted to see each and every one of you. So I know some of us are streaming in live from LinkedIn, others are on YouTube. Whichever platform you're watching us from, receive our warmest welcome to our webinar this evening. So I know for some of you, this might be your first time interacting with HR Box Africa, the brand. So allow me to just very quickly give you a brief intro on who we are and why we're doing what we're doing. And then right after that, I will introduce our moderator for the day. She is super excited. Our panelists are prepped, they're ready. We are going to get into a conversation that I believe is super important. So in a bit we'll get there. But in the meantime, like I said, my name is Pilin Kasara, HR Box Africa. And our mission is very simple. We exist solely to empower your people to do excellent work. And we do that in two ways. First of all, through our innovative software that helps you better manage your employees' processes, like right when from they're hired. So we have an amazing ATS, and when they're already hired, we have a payroll, leave management, time and attendance software to help you better manage your employees. And we also have a team of HR experts who we pair with different organizations, and they come into these organizations to help them develop strategies that prioritize the people, because at the end of the day, we truly believe that people are an organization's most important asset. And you would agree with me that the best organizations, the best companies are run by great people. So our work is to ensure that we create environments where people thrive and also create systems that enable work to flow. Yeah, so that's who we are in a nutshell. And one of the things that we're passionate about is professional development. And that's why we hold these events, these webinars, so that we can ensure that our people leaders are fully equipped to better manage their employees. So without further ado, that's a brief about who we are, HR Box Africa. If you're in the market for HR software or HR services, please reach out to us. There will be a link in the comment section, both YouTube and LinkedIn. So you can just sign up for a demo or book a consultation. Or you can just visit our website, HR Box Africa, and book a consultation with us. All right. So without further ado, I know most of you have been waiting for this conversation. Allow me to introduce our moderator for the day, and then she will introduce our panelists. I hope you're as excited as we are. This was a topic that was requested by one of the people leaders in our universe. So our moderator, I'll just read a brief about her. She is a seasoned HR professional with 4 years of experience. She's worked in different facets of HR, including payroll, people engagement, onboarding, offboarding, recruitment, employee relations, you name them. And outside of work, she enjoys creating content on food and is the face behind Kenyan Foodie 254. So if you're on Instagram and you've ever seen the page Kenyan Foodie 254, our moderator is the one who's behind that. And she's also passionate about people, and she loves to work with people and see them grow in their various fields. Christine Abel, welcome.
Thank you so much, Pili. Thank you so much for the introduction. That was a very extensive introduction. I'm not sure you can see me from my end. I can't see myself.
No, we can't see you. So perhaps we can try and sort out the technical issues in a second or two. But as she does that, allow me to also then introduce our panelists. So I'll just give you a brief bio. I know when Christine comes back, she will also she'll also prompt them to tell us a little bit about themselves that maybe we wouldn't have mentioned in the bio. So allow me to read. So I know you have been If you are following us on our social media pages, you have seen this. So they are per se not necessarily new to us. I'll start with Grace, CHRB Grace Kaume. She is an accredited mediator and a seasoned HR professional with over 15 years of experience in strategic human resource management, labor relations, and organizational development. She is currently serving as the head of human resources and administration at the Federation of Kenya Employers. And she's also recognized for her expertise in driving digital HR transformations and fostering positive workplace cultures. She's also received accolades upon accolades, like HR Leader of the Year and Career Mentor of the Year. She was first runner up at the Uongozi Career Awards. Grace Kaume, welcome. Welcome to the webinar this evening.
Thank you very much. Quite happy to be here this evening.
Awesome. We're happy to have you. Christine is back. We can see you now. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you for extending grace to me. I'm here. I'm back. Thank you so much, Pili, for the wonderful introduction. That was such an extensive introduction of who I am and what I do. I'm not sure you've introduced Grace, or
So
I need to give her an opportunity to introduce herself.
I've just briefly read her bio, but I'd like to allow me to just drop off at this point so that you can continue with the conversation, and then I'll be back towards the end.
Okay, thank you so much, Pili. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm really excited to have you here and I look forward to this amazing session together. Just to kick it off, I'd like us to take some time to pick up your notebook, get somewhere to write. The conversation today will be a conversation that you will have to remember. You will have to remember tomorrow, the following day, and even next year. I'm so excited to be here once again. Thank you so much, Pili, for giving me this opportunity. I'm so excited to have to learn, to relearn, to unlearn some of these things that I have been learning. My name is Christine, as she mentioned, and I'm a specialist in the HR world or the HR field. With me, I have two panelists. One of them is called Grace, and the other one is called Sanjay. I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, and we'll start with the lady because ladies first. So, Grace, go ahead. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Christine. I really appreciate your kind introduction. And for the audience, good evening, good morning from wherever you're tuned in. My name is CHRP Grace Kaume. I currently work at the Federation of Kenya Employers as the head of Human Resources and Administration. I'm very happy to be here. HR is a space I've been in. It's where I get my bread and butter, but it's also the area I'm quite passionate about. So I've been in this space for about 18 years. Actually, I've worked for a number of organizations. I've been in the public sector, worked for a parastatal, worked for a private company, worked for an NGO, and now working at the Federation of Employers. I'm quite passionate about many things. Workplace harmony is one area I'm quite passionate about. I'm also quite passionate about issues of inclusion in workplaces at the Federation. I also lead a program we call the Female Future Women Leadership Program, which builds capacity of women in middle and senior level management. But relevant to the conversation that we have today, I'm also a certified mediator and really play a role in supporting the members of the Federation here in resolving disputes that they may experience, and also as a HR practitioner, things that I face on a day-to-day basis. So quite happy to be here and really looking forward to the conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. That was a really wonderful introduction. I think we are so blessed to have two experts in the room today, and we'll have a lot to pick up from them. Over to you, Sanjay.
Thank you very much, Christine, and good evening to everyone. My name is Sanjay Bansali, and I am a advocate in the High Court of Kenya with having a vast experience in advocacy, practicing partially in India in the High Court of Mumbai and Supreme Court of India at the same time. I started my practice in Kenya from 2018 and I'm an accredited mediator at the same time. I am my the core area of practice is civil, even criminal law at the same time. But when it comes to the mediation, I believe this is something a very interesting subject and a subject which helps everyone in a positive way. So that gave me an interest in it and how to explore it out. And from there, I started as a mediation practice also. And I won't take much of the time of your attendees. And then let me hand over to Christian again, and then we can start our conversation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. Wow, we have an advocate in the room. We have a HR specialist in the room. Fun fact, I started my degree in university with law and later on pivoted to HR. So I'm happy to be part of this conversation. Just to start us off, today's session is focused on conflict in the workplace, and this is a very intriguing and important topic. I know it can be a bit uncomfortable for some people, but I'm so happy that you're all here to be part of this conversation. I hope we can all be able to learn how to navigate conflict in the workplace effectively among each other, because this is one of those things that you really cannot avoid. So before we dive into the session, I'd like our panelists to share their personal interpretations of what conflict could actually mean to them. We can start with Grace again.
Okay, thank you, Christine, for that. So to me, conflict means health because it means there are checks and balances somewhere. And what we say is for as long as there are relationships, conflicts are bound to come up. And so for me, conflict means healthy, but it's just the extent of health that needs to be assessed. So it means for me that there are people, different people who are diverse, who have differences in opinion, who have differences in the way they look at things. But in the process, unfortunately, what happens is there happens to be a clash, there happens to be a friction that is caused by these differences in how they look at things, in how they approach life, in the kind of values they hold, and therefore that can lead to something that is not healthy and that could really cause a lot of damage even to an organization. So that is what conflict means to me. Good, healthy to some extent, but needs checks and balances.
Wow, I really like the statement that conflict means health to Grace. A very interesting perspective for that matter, and I think that's something we need to really have in our minds even as we go through this conversation. That conflict means health. Over to you, Sanjay.
Thank you very much, Christian. Okay, now what I believe, whenever if someone hears the word conflict, the negative things triggers in their mind. And it is going to be there always whenever there is a workplace or whenever there are parties who are related in either way. The conflict will always be there. So if I can define the conflict like there are opposing views, or maybe there are opposing interests or needs of the two parties, and both of them are perceiving him from a different angles, and that could be because of the lack of communication, or maybe there is a lack of negotiation efforts. So that is number one. Number two, the conflict is typically rooted in the issues like misunderstanding, unmet expectations, or resource allocation. And I believe in this place, the mediation process aims to transform the conflict into an opportunity for collaboration and resolution. According to me, wherever there is a conflict, that means there is something going on positively work over there. If the works are not going on, that means if there is no conflict. If, for example, if person A says, oh, everything, whatever he says is been answered in yes by the other party, that means either they are following or they are not following. So if they are following, then there is a conflict. So I do agree with my learned friend Grace also, and I would just add something small over there for the conflict at the same time. Thank you very much.
Interesting perspective. From what I've gotten from the two definitions, we are saying that conflict is healthy. That's what we are saying. And we are saying that conflict will happen every other time where there are people. As long as there are relationships, there's going to be conflict. Could you please give us a brief definition of what conflict in the workplace would mean to you? And I'd like us to start with Sanjay on this.
Thank you very much, Christian. Mostly now today our subject is of the conflict at the workplace, and to build a collaborative place where we can try to reduce the conflict. I can say we cannot diminish it at the zero level, but it can be controlled at a certain level also. Now, normally the conflict takes place at workplace. The first reason is because of the poor communication between the two parties. Now, definitely when we are talking of the workplace, so there is the one party is an employer, other is an employee, or maybe it's both parties are employers, or sometimes it is employees also. So the poor communication includes like a misunderstanding or lack of clear communication can lead to confusion and frustration. So this can happen when the expectations are not clearly defined or when there's inconsistent messaging. Secondly, when the people have a different approach to the same task, some people might like to work independently while other people would like to prefer work in collaboration, or they might be interdependent on their colleagues for some decision making or some sort of work over there. So whenever there the difference is whenever there is these things independence or depending on the other people will create a friction, especially when the expectations around the collaborations are autonomy or are not clearly discussed. The third reason is about the power dynamics. When I say whenever the employees feel that their contributions are overlooked or undervalued, the tensions can be built up. So it is like it should be having a trust between the employer and employee. So if the trust is not there, then the tensions will create over there. Number four, there is a personality clashes also. Now, the personality clashes, it differs, it can lead to tension. People may clash over values, ways of thinking, or working styles, and this can sometimes spiral into more entrenched conflicts if they are not checked at the right time. The another reason for the conflicts, why they take place, is because of the unclear roles and expectations by the other party. When the roles are not being clearly defined of the employees, the conflicts will take place. And the last one, I believe, is the competition for the resources. We have limited resources, like whether it is a time, money, or attention. Everyone needs attention over here, and these things can create conflict, especially when people feel they are competing for a piece of the pie. Now, these things can be resolved also. Now, as a mediator, what are we supposed to look into? Number one, the steps what I would believe is that there should be a transparent communication through regular checkups and check-ins. There should be a team building exercise which should have a we should promote a clarity and trust. As I said earlier, the trust is the most important thing. If there is no trust between the employer and the employee, the tensions are going to be there always, irrespective of whether it is a small issue or a big issue. Second thing, there, there should be a training for active listening. There is a misunderstanding most of the time. If someone is telling me something and I don't want to listen to him, so there will be a conflict. So there should be a training for active listening. That is one of the checks we can take care of. Second thing, we should encourage a culture of mutual respect for different work style. We should promote a team environment where flexibility is embraced, and we should encourage discussions around how people work best so team can adapt to another needs. The other things what we can look into is the workload of distribution. Now, for example, if there is a office environment and there are 6 or 8 people working, you will find in some areas there 3 or 4 people are overloaded and the two are not overloaded. So that creates a tension among the people who are overloaded with the work, and they will have a feeling, oh, we are always overloaded, and those people, they are enjoying their work. They uh, they feel like coming whenever they want, they feel like coming whenever they want to go. You see, there should be a fair distribution of the work. So in that case, the leadership should be more model equitable and behavioral, so that the employees feel secure, and they should have a regular recognition and the feedback. The most important is the emotional intelligence training should take place, and the conflict resolution skills, so that individuals can better understand and manage differences. We should encourage a culture of empathy. That is the most important thing. Their empathy should be there, where people are equipped to engage with diverse personalities respectfully. I would rather say, even if there is a family of 4 people, you will never be able to control all of them, even being the head of the family. All of them have the different views. So how to control them? We have to listen to them. You start listening them, try have a empathy over there. Let everyone have their own roles. The same thing is applicable in the bigger organization. That is the employment now. Now, as I said, there is a whenever there is unclear role and expectations by the people, and when the roles are not being clearly defined by the management, the conflicts will be there. So definitely the management has to have a clear picture about the work, but that doesn't mean that there should be a watertight compartment. Oh, I have not been told to do this job, so I should not do it out. You see, any organization will flourish when there is an understanding among the employees, among themselves, and the employers also at the same time should understand what they are doing and what problems they are facing. They should try to understand each other. Nowadays, if you step out of the house in the morning, you will find your car is blocked by someone, and you are tensed, you are getting late to work because you have a meeting to attend, you have a webinar to attend, and then you are driving at a high speed, you have been blocked by a policeman. You pay fine, or you try to dodge and move out from there. By the time you reach your office, you are stressed with, you're clouded with so many negative things, and then that frustration comes up on the management, or maybe on the employees, either way. So those things should be understood. We should look beyond why that person is behaving in that way. So that is another thing where the conflict arises, and it should they should take care of each. And I do not doesn't mean to say that they should do a spoon feeding. Rather, if everyone takes care of their own responsibility in the work environment, i, I believe conflict will be minimal. It will be at the minimal level. Now, the another step what we should do is we should foster collaboration over competition by promoting a win-win mentality among the people. It is important for an organization to create a culture where conflict isn't something to fear, but a natural part of working together. When we say conflict, it's a fear in my mind. That means, have I done something wrong today? So there is a conflict. So that fear should not be there in the mind of either the employee or the employer. At the same time, they should understand the language. They should respect each other and try to sit across the table and try to resolve it out. And I believe when these things are not being able to done internally, they should engage a professional mediator who can try to resolve these issues through his expertise. So, and when the conflicts do arise, having a trained mediator, it can help them out. So, these are some of the reasons I believe in the first part I have given, and in the second part, I have told what actions can be taken by the employer and the employee. To just to understand in a short way, I believe there should be the clarity in the mind of everyone. Fear should not be there. Respect each other and try to help out each other, because in an every organization, if start we start believing that we are like a family in a big family, you look at the broader picture. I can give example. These all fingers are not alike, so you will in an organization you will see all people are not the same. Mr. X might be very expert in a particular job and Mr. Y will be expert in another job. So we should never compare each other, but the employer should try to take their expertise and try to arrange in such a way that the organization flourish in the long term. So I think this is what I believe out. These are the most common triggers of the workplace conflict. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. I liked the explanation you've given on how different we are and how we cannot be the same, and how we can leverage on each other's strengths and weaknesses to build a strong team. So, you have taken us through some of the common triggers. You have taken us through how we can proactively address them to prevent escalation. And just to dive deeper into this, I would like you to take us through, why do so many people in the workplace avoid addressing conflict head on? What are some of the reasons that could come on at the top of your head?
Conflict, Christine. Not you see now when I'm talking of conflict, I forgot your name, Christine, and I'm addressing as a conflict. You see, Christian, this is a very important question. Why people are avoiding to address conflict head on at workplaces? As I said earlier, the most important thing is the fear of discomfort. Secondly, damage to relationship. I will believe why I should damage my relationship with the employer or my colleagues. Or there is a belief that conflict is inherently negative, because you see I have come up with a closed mind, either of them. I'm not saying that employees only. When I refer to a parties, I refer to both of them. So these are the basic three reasons where the people try to avoid to address conflict head on. Then they believe they will create a toxic environment if I try to speak out my something that, oh, I have this problem. So these are the basic reasons why these people are fearing. And I believe these things can be overcome through a continuous process of training and everything. Now, avoiding conflict only postpones the inevitable and often make the situation worse in the long term. It's something like that. When I say that we are working like a family in a larger organization or in a broad family, if I keep things in my mind and it keeps on piling up over a period of time, at the day will come, I will burst out. So why am I piling up? So it should be immediately, but with respect. We should we should be having our areas where we are controlling. I should not cross my parameters or my borders, rather I would say, or my area. If I'm talking to a senior, I should be respectful. If a senior is talking to an employee, he should also be respectful to the employee. I would rather say they should be changing their roles for a moment and imagine why there is a conflict. So if I step into your shoes and you step into my shoes, that is one of the unconventional method, I would rather say. But if it is practicable, so if you do that way, oh yeah, why this XYZ is behaving in a bad mood today, maybe something has gone wrong. So that is one of the thing why these people are not moving it out. Now, what happens if now conflict can be as a sign of engagement as a passion also. Now when employees are, why these things come up, because the employer should think that the employees are passionate about their work. If they are not passionate about their work, conflict will never come. Oh yeah, employers told me to do something XYZ, I will do it out. And if anything goes wrong, who is to be blamed? Employer. Because you told me to do, I have done it out. But if the employees are passionate, they will try to dig out. I would not say dig out, but they will try to identify the errors. Oh, if can we go in this way so that we can be more productive? So that is one of the reasons. Conflicts are often a reflection of investment in the task at hand. If employees didn't care about what they are doing, there would be no conflict in the first place, according to me. Second thing we can say, I'm taking conflict as in a positive way now. How conflict can be how conflict can be very healthy to an organization. Now, conflict can act as a catalyst for innovation. Now, sometimes what happens in an organization, if there is a meeting in the boardroom and there are few 6 or 7 or 8 people sitting, everyone will have a diverse view of a particular problem. Now, if they are giving a diverse view, that means they are having an experiences and they are coming up with the new ideas. They are uncovering the gaps. They are testing all the assumptions and challenging the status quo, what is the current status of the problem. So they are trying to overcome that problem. So if these differences are addressed thoughtfully and in a better way, I believe the conflict can be in a very positive way. I believe conflict can act as an opportunity for growth and learning. When conflict forces people to step out of their comfort zone, if I don't try to, if I don't try to come out from my comfort zone, I will never enter into a conflict. If I say yes, 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 everything is correct, then there is no conflict, because I have never said no to anyone. But as soon as I say no, the other person has a problem. So if I come out of my comfort zone, I will try to learn something from him. Why is he behaving in that way? So I believe conflict is like an opportunity for growth and learning. Then it is also a problem solving for everyone. Then I can use conflict as a tool for clarifying and aligning the goals. It can act as a bridge from the problem to the goal, to the solution. It can act as a bridge from point A to point B. Now, if the management has given some goals to us, and when we are working on it, and when there is a conflict among, or when there is a diverse view among the management, among the people, among themselves, so what is going to happen? So we are encouraging different views, I'm accepting them, and then we are reaching our goal nearby. So always the conflict should be taken in a positive. You see, a coin has a two side, head and tail. Don't take as a negative side, just try it on the other side, and you will accept it, or something. Take things in a positive way. If, for example, if an employee says something to the colleague or to the management, the employee management should think, why is that employee putting that blame on the management, or why is vice versa. So when you start thinking, then only they will try to understand the problem of the other person, and then the conflict will be minimized. And you know what happens, the conflict can act as a preventive measure for a larger problems. When we see the climate, and when there is so much silence, there's a storm coming in behind. So what conflict is there, it is helping you out to understand there's a problem coming in, face it out either way. So if I ignore those things, then I have to be ready to accept a big problem coming in future. It is something like piling up day by day, day by day, day by day. It's like if you go to investing, you keep on adding a penny every day. At the end of the 365th day, you will find it is converted into shillings or into dollars, not into penny. That means the problem has grown big now. And imagine when it blasts, what the repercussions will be on the management or anywhere. So, as a mediator, I would rather say there are many ways also which the management should take care of it. They should they should take this, the management or the employee should take as an opportunity, that yes, this is something which has come to us. that means I'm not going to face a bigger problem. If I, it is something, if I always give the examples of it connecting to the medical terminology, let if I have a headache, I just go to the chemist and I buy a Panadol. But if I ignore that headache, it's nothing. Second thing, I have to go to the doctor, and still I ignore going to the doctor. The third thing, I might end up in admitting in the hospital. So that is a blast now. So these are the things. So the people should stop fearing. They should have a healthy discussion. They should not think that if I speak out something, it will be a damage to the relationship, or I will be having a bad relationship with my colleagues or management. And the most important thing is they should never think negative. So these are the reasons. That's why people are avoiding addressing conflict head on. Thank you very much, Christine. That's according to me.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. Thank you so much for that extensive explanation. We have Grace in the room. I can see Grace has finally joined us in the room. And I'd just like us to expound a bit further on the same conversation of conflict in the workplace. So, Grace, if conflict were a physical symptom, what would the early warning signs look like? And how can teams diagnose conflict before it actually erupts?
Thank you very much, Christine, for that, because you put up you put us in the context of doctor-patient situation where, you visit a doctor and the first thing they ask, what have you been experiencing? How was it, when did it start and all that? So it's the same thing with the conflict, actually. So if we are to look at, some danger signs or, warning signs that we really need to look at the workplace, if you are to pick up conflict, I would say there are quite a number. The first thing you're likely to experience is issues around communication. Either communication that is poor, that is broken, or that is inappropriate. People will either not communicate as much, or when they do, they will not communicate appropriately as they should. Sometimes it will be disrespectful, sometimes it will be scanty, and all that, around communication. So communication is a big indicator of how, whether there are conflicts or, lack of conflict in an organization. Second is team dynamics, observing how teams work. You are likely to see that where there are conflicts, people want to work in silos. People do not want to be in a team, and they just want to do their own things. So team dynamics will definitely be affected where there are conflicts, and those could be conflicts amongst the team members, or even conflicts between the members and the leaders of that team. So those team dynamics will definitely be a good indicator to check out for as a warning sign. We are looking at also things around relationships. As we said, employment and even being at the workplace, it's purely actually a social relationship. So how relationships are managed, you're likely to find a situation where relationships are very superficial. People do not necessarily care about each other. If I step on your toe, I don't necessarily mind. All we need to do is get work done. Now, when you see the relationships in a place, in a team, in a workplace are very superficial, then it could be a good indicator that this is a team that is experiencing conflicts. Look at the way meetings are run. If you experience dysfunctional meetings that do not head anywhere, meetings that do not lead to conclusions, do not lead to any actionable items, meetings where people just do not want to get to some consensus because I want to speak to do things my way, and they don't necessarily want to listen to the way you do things. That could be a good indicator of conflicts or underlying issues that need to be addressed in teams. Look at the output, issues of productivity, where productivity is continuously going down. it is then an indicator that there is something wrong. Sometimes it could be because of the value chain. It could be because your function feeds to my function. And therefore, because we have a conflict, then I'm tempted to slow down. I'm tempted to frustrate you here and there. So when you notice a drop in productivity, it's a good reason enough to ask, are things okay? Is there a proper flow of information, and is there collaboration among the teams that we are working with? Anger is a good indicator. When you see someone just, snapping, someone who was, calm, someone who could be relied on, all of a sudden, every now and then they're breaking down. Every now and then they are somewhere and they just, walk out of conversations. They just cannot control their emotions. Some of those things could be good indicators of conflicts that are going on. High staff turnover is another good indicator that you need to look at. And especially if, as the HR or as a leader in an organization, you notice that a certain department, a certain section, a certain function is continuously losing people. You bring in new blood, fresh people within X period of time, 6 months, 1 year, they're gone. Yet they are good people. They loved the kind of job, that they did. When you look at their interviews, they were really passionate about the organization. It's reason good enough to ask yourself, what is happening with this team? Are there underlying issues that we need to resolve as we go by? Issues of anxiety. When people start feeling like they are not secure enough, and especially where that conflict is coming from a power position, is something to worry about. You start experiencing absenteeism issues. People just want to fake a sick off by all means. And another interesting one I'll talk about is issues of forming cliques. In organizations, you're likely to find, people now starting to form some cliques, starting to form some affiliations. I want to be associated with so-and-so because this one will help me fight so-and-so. So some of those things are very good indicators of conflicts that can be happening in an organization that we really need to be aware of. We need to be constantly checking out for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. So throughout the conversation, I've noticed there's a lot of communication. So communication seems to be an agent of conflict. I have heard that from Grace. I have heard that from Sanjay. And I've also seen on the comment section from YouTube, someone mentioning that avoiding conflict does not actually help conflict. In fact, it sort of incubates it for it to grow. Just before we finish off with Grace, Grace, I'd like you to take us through how can leaders foster an environment that encourages open communication and constructive conflict resolution?
Okay, thank you very much for that question, Christine. And I would like to take you back to the book, Maxwell's book, which says, everything rises or falls with the leader. And that is very true even for conflict resolution. Another fact that I want to point you out to is truly the fact that managers and leaders spend about 25% of their time on conflict resolution. So what can they do to encourage, like you asked, an environment where there's open communication and there's constructive resolution of disputes? These are some of the things that managers can do. One is really about the environment. The environment has to be right. And they do have an opportunity to create a right environment where people can be able to speak up, where people can be able to seek clarification, where people can apologize when they go wrong, where people can be able to actually say, you know what, I was wrong here. They can take responsibility for their actions and can actually encourage win-win situations. I don't necessarily always have to win, but if it's something that pushes us forward as an organization, then that's something I'll be happy to go for. So the environment really, really matters. And we've talked a lot, and the progression of HR as a career especially, and issues now of people and culture. So the bit of the culture that we create in organizations then becomes very important. What kind of organization are we known to be? Are we a place where people just cannot speak, cannot be heard, or what kind of an organization are we? So creating the right environment is the responsibility of the leaders in whichever space that they are in. There are issues around policies, because organizations are guided by policies. They standardize how certain things are done. When you look at, say, policies around grievance handling, when you look at policies, say, around discipline management, are they consistent? Are they ambiguous, or are they clear that people know this is what is expected in X or Y situation? So do they speak out what is acceptable and what is not? Because when you do some of those things, then you already remove very many gray areas that are likely to lead to conflict. So that is a role that leaders have. They sit at the table where policies are made and where the cultures are shaped through policies, through standard guidelines, through standing orders, through codes of conduct that are set for organizations. So that is something that leaders can do to really enhance that area. Another area that leaders can work on is really the issue of capacity building and training their teams. And Sanjay also mentioned this earlier. In fact, one of the things actually that even causes conflicts in organizations, by the way, is differences in personalities. Something as simple as, you are an extrovert, I'm an introvert, I prefer a certain way of doing things, you prefer a certain way of doing things, you're too detailed, I just like things, just to see, want to see the pointers and all that. So if leaders can invest in issues of capacity building around how to resolve conflicts, around issues of emotional intelligence, around issues of self-awareness, for people to understand themselves, for people to know what makes them angered, in a way that when there's a trigger that is likely to lead them to anger, they step back. So issues around capacity building then fully rest on the leaders of different organizations, and managers can do something about this. And I'd like to say this, Christine, and to our audience, especially in organizations, conflict resolution is not a job of HR people, because they are likely then to spend 90% of their times resolving conflicts from morning to evening. People should be capacity built enough to be able to resolve conflicts even at their own levels. Not everything needs to be escalated. Line managers need to be able to resolve some of these conflicts on the go. They don't necessarily have to keep sending everyone to HR. So leaders can do that. Another thing is leading by example, because when, as a leader, you show the right, you show the way, you're likely then to, people are likely to emulate what you do, and they are likely to do the right things. But also importantly, is to address issues as soon as they come up. Don't park them. Don't wait for appraisal. Don't wait until someone comes to complain, yet you have picked up the issues that are either in dispute or that are causing conflicts within your teams. And especially also if you're at CEO level, call out onto people who are causing discomfort. Sometimes we might have managers who feel they are above the law. It is the responsibilities of the leader to call out on such behavior and to ensure that things are being done in the right way, that top leadership is not advocating for one thing, but there's a whole breakdown of communication and how things are trickled down at the middle level. My last point on that area is leaders should be able to help organizations to learn from the conflicts as they arise. There are many opportunities to learn from conflicts. And actually, just like the crisis, different crises that happens everywhere in the world, people keep saying, never waste a crisis. And the same thing goes with conflicts. When a conflict arises and something needs to be addressed in the workplace and it is actually addressed, it is always important for the leaders to look at it as a learning opportunity and ask, what did we learn from this? What can we prevent in future? What can we put in place in a way that then we don't have to repeat the same thing in future, but be progressive? Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Grace. So, what I have mainly picked is that conflict is not bad, and if it's actually handled well, it could actually lead to growth. What a fantastic point. Someone should put that on a t-shirt. Someone should put that on a t-shirt and sell it to us. Um, I'll move on to the next segment and I'll have Sanjay lead us on this. I know we have talked about what conflict means to us, the dangers and signs of conflict. How can leaders handle conflict in the workplace? How can they help foster an environment that encourages conflict? And I'd just like Sanjay to take us through what silent conflict means and how can you identify and address conflicts that aren't openly discussed but are clearly impacting the team dynamics and the morale of the team. Sanjay, are you there? Okay, I don't know that Sanjay dropped off or he's here.
Okay, thank you, Christian. But can you repeat your question because I was not able to get you?
Okay, the question was, what are silent conflicts? What does silent conflict mean to you? And how can you identify and address conflicts that aren't openly discussed but are clearly impacting the team?
Okay, thank you very much, Christian. Now, when we are talking of the silent conflicts, sometimes there are the employees or the management. They don't utter a word and they don't feel comfortable over there, and there are issues that are affecting their morale. First of all, that is that is the silent one. And can you hear me, Christian?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Okay, now the questions that the silent conflicts are that. Hello, I think there's a problem on my side.
Sorry, maybe it's your connection. Do you want us to give you a minute to fix that? Okay. Maybe we can have Grace take us through what silent conflict means to her.
Thank you, Kristen. Silent conflicts could mean very many things, but many times these are things that eat up people within organizations. Many times not spoken about. They could be at different levels. They could be at individual level. They could be at a team level. Like could be having actually a conflict within yourself and you're not able to speak it up even to anyone, even to your spouse or to your children. Could be something maybe about your value system, something that you compromised at that level. It could also be at a team level, probably things that you're not able to share with your colleagues because you also don't know how they will take it. Looks like I'm also frozen a bit. But really, there are things that could be picked up through observation, especially if you're a team leader. You're able to observe the dynamics, the body language, and even the productivity levels, even if no one has really brought them up, openly and said, we have a problem here. That's what I would take that to be. But Sanjay, back to you.
Yeah, Christine, thank you very much, Grace. And I would say that a silent conflict can refer to several different things depending on the context. It depends on the situation where people or a group of people are in the odd situation, but the tension is not openly expressed. As the Grace said that they will stay quiet, but they will not communicate to the other people. Now, this could manifest in personal relationships at workplaces or even international relations also. Often the conflict remains under the surface It is like a, tip of the iceberg. It is not been, you cannot see it from the top, but it is there underneath, and it is unresolved, and it can be shimmering because people are not directly confronting the issue. Secondly, the signs what we look at those are, when it comes to the workplace, are there is a decreased collaboration or participation in the team meetings. You will find that the number of the people who were in the meeting are reducing nowadays. Then avoidance behavior, like you are avoiding your colleague or someone. When you meet him at the canteen, or if you are meeting him for lunch, he's trying to avoid you. Then there is a increased irritability or a passive aggressive comments. If you greet someone and he might be greeting in a bad way, so these are all silent, these are the signs of the silent conflict. Then increased absenteeism or disengagement from all the activities. So these are the signs which the management should take care of, and they should have a keen eye on it. They should not ignore why this is happening. So these are the things which they should take into consideration. Now, when you see the conduct, now these things can be overcome. Sometimes what happens, there can be an anonymous survey or pulse check, or then can be the surveys which can take place internally, which the name is not given of any person, so they are feeling free to, they feel free to come up with their views, and they feel, oh no, because of the power imbalance, sometimes they can give up their own views over there. So these are there. Then second thing, the management should create an informal space for open dialogues. Now, there's the management and the employees should feel that they are secured, their job is secured. If they say something against the management, the repercussions will be bad. Or if the management says, if we tell something about the production, they might go on a strike or something in that way. So these are the things which can take into consideration. And definitely this is something like, the silent conflict is it's like a slow poison, I would rather say, which will blast up at the end of the time. So, okay, looking at this thing, I don't think anything else, but the most important is the trust and the responsibility, and there should be caring for each other so they can overcome that issues, and the conduct of the
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanjay. I can see we are running out of time. I will give Grace an opportunity to answer one more question, and then we'll dive deep into the questions that the audience has asked before we can close this. So we've talked about conflict, and we've agreed that conflict is here with us and we cannot avoid it. So, Grace, with trends like remote work, AI integration, and general diversity shaping the workplace, how do you see the approach to conflict resolution evolving in the future?
Great. Thank you, Christine, for that good question. And I would say actually the future is here already, because a few years back, we used to talk about the future of work, the workplaces of the future, jobs of the future of jobs, all those things. But now it is already here, and especially when we look at the post-COVID era. So what I would say is, for sure, things are changing. Yeah, yes, there is AI, there's technology that is changing the way we work. We have all these generations coming to the workplace. We've seen the rise of the Gen Zs, and what values they stand for and the kind of characteristics that drive them. And for sure, these things are here, real with us. But it's these and many more issues of globalization. When you talk of all these other, what you call the mega trends that drive, the world of work, they affect us in a big time. So that is already here. But I'm really happy that first we are in a place where our structures have already provided for a good way forward. If you look at our constitution in Kenya, actually it has provided for things like ADR, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, like mediation, what we are discussing today. If you look at the way our court system is, We have, issues of litigation take so long in court. They are so expensive. They are so derailed. They lead to very broken relationships and all that. But if you look at our court system today, it has provided for ADR, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, mediation being one of them. There are court annex mediators, and all these help to resolve disputes. So what I see as the future of conflict resolution, one is first, because of all these changes, the nature of disputes are changing. The kind of disputes we are likely to see even moving forward are likely to be slightly different from the kind of disputes we've had in the past. We are likely to see lots more of disputes around, issues of information, issues of data, issues of how work is done, because a lot of people probably are working remotely and all that. We are getting into an interesting space where we will even have AI co-workers. So what kind of disputes do we expect between me and my AI co-worker? So in terms of dispute resolution, I expect ADR, alternative dispute resolution, to take a big chunk moving forward. People want issues resolved quickly and they move on with life. I expect also more investment really on things that we took as natural, issues around relations management, because we are getting to a space where those interactions are not as natural, because you're working in this part of the world, I'm working in this part of the world. So for us to resolve disputes, I expect actually to see more investments in terms of, building relationships, and therefore that could lead to, things like at least people having, empathy and all those things that we're talking about. We are expecting to see technology as an enabler for dispute resolution. How do we use technology? We're likely to see, more mediators doing their work online. I don't necessarily have to have a face-to-face conversation to resolve disputes with the parties that I'm helping. So techie world, technology is likely to be a driver and an enabler to dispute resolution. And so those are some of the expectations that we have. And conflict is definitely not going away. So we just need to find a way of dealing with conflicts and evolving with the different types of conflicts that we are likely to see. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. Conflict is definitely not going away. I hope you've all heard that. And for those who are avoidants and constantly trying to avoid conflict, I hope you have learned that conflict is healthy. And in fact, if handled well, it could lead to growth. Thank you so much, Grace and Sanjay. I cannot see any questions from the audience. I don't know whether we have any questions. I can't seem to see any. Does that mean that our speakers were that good? We clearly do not have questions from the audience. Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you so much, Sanjay, once again. I've picked up quite a number of things from the conversations. I think we have all learned what conflict is, how we can manage conflict in the workplace, what are some of the signs to spot to see whether there's conflict in your teams. We've also learned the importance of addressing conflict, how we can address conflict, and how we can even create an environment that allows us to have conflict in a positive and healthy way. Because of time, I can see we are actually 3 minutes past the agreed time of the session. I will hand over to Pili, who's going to close this for us. Over to you, Pili. Pili, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
She's here.
That was excellent moderation. Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you, Sanjay and Grace. I was actually feeling like maybe we should have allotted 2 hours for this discussion, because I was like, when Christine was saying that we're done, I was like, but we barely scratched the surface. I thought we were just getting to the good stuff. But I think that's an indication that we should continue this conversation on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, because it's a conversation that, like I said when I was beginning, it's a really important conversation. Grace, I laughed out loud when you said, conflict between me and my AI. I mean, wow, I cannot wait for, anyway, how the future is evolving, especially with the rise of AI and the like. But allow us to end it here. I'd say we're just going to take a pause, and we're going to continue the conversation online on LinkedIn. Perhaps at this point, I'd love for you to tell us where anyone should find you. Like if maybe anyone is in need of mediation or conflict resolution at workplace, how can they find you? And maybe we can start with Sanjay and then we can go to Grace. How do we reach out?
Thank you very much, Pili. Okay, we are located at Lamech off Vayaki Way, Westlands, East Church Road, and I can share my number over here on the screen, 0733 That's my WhatsApp number. And I can even share my Safaricom number, 0705 805 941. And they can reach us anytime between Monday to Friday from 8 to 5 p.m. anytime. And once they text us, we can share our business card with them, and they are most welcome. Thank you very much.
All right. What about you, Grace?
Thank you very much. So as mentioned earlier, I do work for the Federation of Kenya Employers. I would like to confirm that we have invested in a team of 20 mediators at the Federation.
Wow.
Because we believe that this is a very important area to be in. So we have those 20 mediators and actually have set up a mediation center for our employers. So employers who are in disputes, and sometimes you look at things and you're like, we really don't need to go to court. It is better to find amicable solutions through alternative dispute resolution. So we are at the ACK Gardens. We can be reached through an email address, fkehq@fke-.com. I am available. I'm reachable on LinkedIn. And anytime I'll be happy to support or to link anyone to our team of mediators that we have. Because this is what we practice every day. Our space is employment and labor relations. Even when we go to court, that's what we specialize on. So we give the very best as far as issues employment are concerned. And so before I go away, a big shout out to my colleagues in the profession. I've seen Richard and other colleagues following closely and participating in the conversation. So I say a big hi to them all.
Awesome. And what about you, Christine? How do we find you?
So for me, please find me on LinkedIn. Christine Abel is my name on LinkedIn. It's the name I use everywhere. Find me on Instagram. Find me on my number. My number is 0729 864 167. I put out a lot of content here and there on HR and on just generally lifestyle.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I think that's a good place to end this conversation. Again, if you're here, you're in need of HR software or HR services, look no further. Contact us. You can visit our website and just book a consultation with us. We'd be happy to engage you. Otherwise, apologies for extending, but I hope you got value. I hope you learned as much as I did, and we will be sure to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.